Hey, welcome everyone. I have a very special guest today. It's going to be an interesting topic, and I'm looking forward to this show. The topic for today is leading with purpose: women driving innovation in finance and technology. I have the right guest. I believe I'm looking forward to this show because she has done a lot of things in this space. The worlds of finance and technology have been seen through traditional lenses, like ones that often overlook or underestimate the impact of women. But the story is changing across industries. Women are not just stepping into leadership roles; they are reshaping how the leadership looks like. So, in this episode, we'll explore the transformation with Priya, a recognized global data power woman who has spent her career breaking barriers and lifting others as she climbs. She's going to share her journey. So Priya's story is going to be a reminder. It's not just a reminder for everyone. It's going to be a catalyst for change, catalyst for creativity and business success. So Priya, why don't you go and introduce yourself, and we can straight away go into this
Awesome.
interesting topic.
Absolutely, Anand. I think I'm already so humbled. You talked great things about me. I don't think there is nothing much I can add, but I want to give a little bit about myself, where I started. We'll keep it brief though. As you know, I'm Priya Reddy. Until recently, I was a VP of EDM and Chief Data Officer for a fintech company called Reprise. But today, I'm exploring into new world, and I'm being an AI and data consultant as well as board
Hmm.
advisor, investor, and adjunct faculty for chief data and AI officers at Carnegie Mellon University. So throughout my journey, I mean, for the past 2 decades, I have been in financial services and fintech, driving the change, building the data teams, data and analytics teams from ground up, and
Hmm.
building the systems and processes to launch product as well. Right, I have seen across the board from the critical stages of inception to IPO.
Hmm.
I have
Hmm.
navigated through change, so I firsthand know how the transformation happens and what equity plays, what role it plays in those major transformations. Can't wait to
Yeah.
dive deep and share my perspectives, share my experiences and real stories.
Yeah. Looking forward to this. Thank you. Like, you're a leader, you're an investor, and you are like a part-time professor in the Carnegie Mellon. Like, do you ever sleep, Priya? I'm just kidding. That's good to
And
know.
I
So,
question
I
with
want to.
myself, and my family also questions me sometimes. But I think I would like to say one thing. I live in presence. Like, hey, let's get through today and we'll think about it tomorrow. That's what
That's
kept me going.
That's a good way of starting the morning, right? Starting every day. I want to start with
Absolutely.
this recognition that you recently got. Like, you've been recognized as a global data power woman, right? It looks like a powerful title. It clearly speaks to your influence and the impact that you're making in this community, right? I've known you, I've seen you in one of the conference, but oftentimes people treat the titles like, okay, something deeper than just a recognition. I'm sure you're looking at it that way. So when you think about this title personally, right, beyond the award, beyond the visibility, beyond the things that you're getting because of this title, what does it really mean for you, right? For some leaders, it's not about all the spotlight. It's also about the responsibility. I think you have done a lot of things using this as a platform to open doors for others, right? To challenge the bias that we have in this society, or to show what is possible for women in this field, right, where they've been often underrepresented, right? I've seen that. So when you hear global data power woman, what comes to your mind, not as an external label?
Absolutely. That's such a powerful and packed question, Anand. But honestly, it's very humbling. But to me, that title isn't about a badge of achievement, right? It's about responsibility.
Hmm.
I have been given that twice so far, and every time I see that, it's much more humbling, and my responsibility only grows. So it reminds
Yep.
me of something that the visibility creates possibility for others. So today, when I am getting that recognition, that is showing the other women that it is possible for them to get that award as
Yes.
well. And that award
Yes.
is nothing but it is acknowledging your work. your presence as a leader, right? I have spent about 2 decades in finance and tech, often as one of the few women in the rooms that I have been. So when I look back, when I reflect on what matters most, isn't just a title. It's about how I advocate for women in tech, predominantly in data and AI, because that's where I have been for the past 2 decades. And to open doors for the next generation of leaders.
Right.
And
Right.
and basically, my goal is to make that leadership look more diverse tomorrow than what it is today. And
Right. Right.
recognition fades. I mean, today you have the title, today you have that recognition, tomorrow it fades, right? People forget.
Yes.
But what stays, what sticks is the impact that you create. And that's actually why I'm also launching a podcast called Ready to Grow with my daughter, who is senior high school, plans to major in business and finance. That podcast is to amplify women voices in STEM. And I want to make sure more of such stories are being heard than hidden. So,
Yep.
so like I mentioned, ours are wonderful accomplishments or acknowledgments, but helping someone see their potential gives me joy. That fills my cup. That's why I do what I do. Apart from the day job, I used to mentor women, not only who is starting their own career or
Hmm.
being in a career or getting into leadership, how to show up as a leader. So that fills my cup. And to tell you, to sum it up in one thing, my guiding principle has been very simple, right? What is my legacy going to be? Is it
Yeah.
something my kids will be proud of?
Right.
That's actually my guiding principle, and that's what made me launch the podcast. And I keep
Right.
writing my data forward newsletter because I want to show the real stories. I want to show the stories of other women, not only women and other male allies as well, so that
Right.
everyone get
Right.
to hear their unique stories, their unique perspectives, their own learnings. So yeah, that's why I keep doing what I do.
Well, good luck with your podcast. It's going to be interesting. You said you're going to start with your daughter, right? That's going to be an interesting one. I'm happy to chat. Like, I've been thinking about doing this podcast for the last 2 years. I think, I'm glad to see that, people are starting their own podcast. Good luck with that, Priya. You mentioned the recognition part of it, right? More than recognition, representation also matters a lot, right? Especially in the field that we work in, right? When people see someone who looks like them leading, speaking, building change. I think you're doing all of those things. So, like, it suddenly feels possible in a way that it didn't before, right? People are getting inspired. I think you've built a visible platform, right? And I've been following you, and you talked about your newsletter. I've been following your conference speeches, right? You've built a visible platform as a woman in the STEM area, right? And the visibility alone cannot inspire, right? Others in a way. You may not even realize it, right? Sometimes you might be like, okay, did I really inspire you? Did that really inspire you? Like, people will come and talk to you like, hey, I started this because, you said something in this conference, right? I'm curious how your presence or leadership helped open doors for the next generation of women coming into data or tech or finance. It may be, right? It may be through a mentorship. You talked about mentorship. Can you share a moment of a story when you realized the visibility made a difference, when someone told you that, hey, I saw you do it, so I believed it, I'm doing it now?
That's awesome. I love this question, Anand. And I'm glad you asked me because that's something I'm really passionate about. Because at this stage of my career, we have learned so much. We have done a lot of things throughout our careers. I feel like now it's much more purposeful journey for me. So I want to share. I want to share the knowledge and share my learnings to others so that they can also grow. In the
Right.
beginning, I want to share a small example. When like maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, when I was very early in my career, you won't believe I did not even know such thing called mentorship. And when I came to know as well, I was afraid to even ask somebody if they can mentor me because
Mm.
I was afraid that what if they say no, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
today, I have seen so many women, showing up for other women, mentoring them, advocating for them, and even opening the doors for them, like sponsoring
Hmm.
them, right? After seeing that, I felt like, hey, if so many women leaders could do, I can do it. And that's exactly what is guiding me. to show up to the
Right.
conference,
Right.
to show up to
Mm-hmm.
the event, or even the podcast today. I'm here because I want to show somebody that you can do it too. And something simple, not only for women leaders, the girls in middle school and high school, that is a very important stage where we can bring that influence. So as a
Right.
board of directors for the GEMS Camp, which is a nonprofit where we serve middle and high school girls, just discovering STEM, you can see their eyes light up when they meet a woman who look like them, leading tech, leading in finance, right? That moment, that spark is very powerful. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why I do what I do. And having two daughters myself, I know what it takes to create that change, and that's why I keep showing up, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even now, when I talk to when I walk into some of those conferences, believe me, some of those panel rooms, I sometimes see fewer than 10% women. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I still show up because every time I do, I'm advocating for those spaces. So the next generation of leaders, they don't feel outnumbered when they arrive.
Right.
That's a guiding principle for me. So that has been guiding me to mentor as part of the Carnegie Mellon's program, inspiring girls in STEM through nonprofits, and being part of some other organizations such as Wilda Chief, because there is so much peer learning happens, right?
Right.
Even myself,
Right.
I have to keep learning to show up because I have to have greatest and latest content as well, because I have to keep learning so that I when I'm giving to somebody some information, it has to be latest and greatest. So
Right.
yeah, I'm happy to do it, and I am happy to keep doing it.
Yeah, I think you brought up an important point. Like a lot of people talk about success, a lot of people talk about titles, a lot of people talk about recognition. I think there's a lot that everyone goes through, right? Including yourself. The setbacks and the doubts and the quiet moments. What if scenarios, right? I think you said it well. Resilience is such an important thing here, right? Priya, I saw your post one day where you had that basket of the ID cards with in the basket and then you mentioned that this represents the number of conferences that I went through. Like the moment I saw that, that made me to think, okay, you've been trying something really, really hard and repetitively, right? It's not a show off in my view, right? I'm sure that
Absolutely.
it might have like 40 different ID cards, but I think that shows your resiliency. Speaking on that, right, the setbacks and challenges that have shaped your career, right, or that have shaped the kind of leader you have become today. Was there a specific moment that tested your resilience? One that at the time felt like a setback, but ended up becoming a turning point in your career?
Absolutely. That's another powerful question, right? Because not only women, every one of
Mm.
us go through those setbacks,
Yes.
but how do we turn them into resilience, right? I mean, you reminded me of that post, but that for sure it was not to show off, but
Yes.
in fact, I would say visibility, because
Yeah.
that shows how many conferences or events I have been to and why I have been to those events, because I want to show up for
Right.
others, create positive opportunities for them. And
Yeah.
often I feel like resilience gets talked not it, I don't think resilience gets talked about enough. So there were seasons in my career where I had to pause, truly, I mean, to take care of my family, or to
Hmm.
even to recover or to recalibrate, to just to
Hmm.
explore, hey, what's next for me? I just don't want to
Hmm.
go from one to another in a rush, right? So I have that
Yes.
time, I have that energy, I have that clarity, so that I really make that move for future, because I'm a
Yeah.
kind of person that creates bondings, relationships, connections very naturally. But when I create them, I want to keep nurturing them. I am
Hmm.
not a person where I keep changing the jobs every few years. When I stay there, you might have seen my career journey. Every company that I work at, I stay there for about a decade. So, and I used to see those pauses as gaps until I
Hmm.
realized growth points, right?
Right.
Because I was intentional about it. When it becomes growth point is you are taking time, you are being
Hmm.
intentional about carving your next journey, right? That's when all that resilience matters. Resilience
Yes.
isn't about bouncing back quickly. when something happens. To me, it's about returning wiser and sharper because
Yeah.
you went through the storm. So you don't want to be the same person once you go through the
Hmm.
storm, right? So
Right.
you become
Right.
more wiser and stronger. And each challenge has taught me that empathy and grounded my leadership in authenticity. Right. Today, I tell women, hey, your detours don't define you, but actually they refine you.
Right.
And I also say that, many of us know that success is not linear. It is
Yes.
like the sine
It's a
wave or
journey.
cos wave. And it's okay. And it is okay. Right. So that's always like I want to remind myself that, wherever you're going, be intentional about it. That's when you
Right.
can carve your future.
Yeah. I, yeah, I think well said, Priya. Like, I want to go back to the one thing that you mentioned, right? I think that's a really important topic that I want to hit on, like for the newcomers and the people who are like new to this industry. I think you mentioned about you were looking for some mentorship, and you had this doubt of like, what if they say no to it, right? Mentorship can completely change the direction of someone's career for sure, right? Especially early on. If you have mentorship in your early on in your career, I think that's a blessing in my view, right? I always
Absolutely.
regret that, why did not I have mentors in my early in my career, right? Now I'm just like, have mentors gratefully, right? Um, um, while when you are still trying to figure out who you are, where you fit, I think that's where you need those mentorship, right? I've heard many leaders say that one conversation that you had with mentors, or one piece of advice that you had, or even the moment of encouragement from a mentor helped seem lot of possibilities, right? And I think that's what you've been doing, right? You talked about mentoring people, but maybe it's something about building confidence in rooms, or like when you're the only one woman, or learning how to speak up without feeling like you have to prove your worth twice over, or perhaps it is about staying curious, right? Asking questions, learning the business, and building relationship with open doors. I'm curious to know, like, when you talk to the young woman just starting out, what kind of advice do you find yourself giving most often?
So yeah, that's another great question you asked. So we touched upon uh, mentorship and how important it is, and how you and I felt that wish we had mentors in our early career, right? But never too
Exactly.
late. Yet you got mentors, and I'm very fortunate for that. Honestly, the advice I give not only to the people who are entering into their careers, whether it's finance, tech, data, AI, or any other industry, or even people who are in their careers, right? The
Hmm.
advice is very simple. Don't be afraid
Yeah.
to pivot. And don't be afraid to stand on your own. Because many times, women, I often see that they wait for validation. Could be from
Right.
family, could be from coworkers, or could be from friends. But growth comes from taking that first step yourself. And if you believe you can do it, go for it. 'Cause don't ever
Yeah.
depend on family, coworkers, or friends that they're gonna be there to support me, right? No,
Correct.
no, you go for it when you're ready, when you are self-sufficient. Because confidence doesn't come before action; it comes with action. So
Hmm.
that's a powerful mantra. It is very simple, but to say, but in practice, it is hard to do it. However,
Hmm.
that's where intention comes into picture, right? You got to be
Right.
intentional about what pivot you want to take, how you want to carve your career. That's when magic happens. And like you
Yeah.
talked about, be curious is something that always actually paved my path in my career. I'll give you one simple example, right?
Sure.
Uh, Back in, like, maybe I'm going back to my college or even high school days. When I was in 11th grade, which is junior high school, right?
Sure.
There is one incident that happened that really shaped me. Um, I was one of the four students that were
Hmm.
identified for IIT. IIT is one of the premier
Yes.
tech engineering schools in India, and I was the
Yes.
only girl among three boys. And
Hmm.
at that moment, it opened my eyes
Yes.
because there were not many girls in that room, but that did not intimidate me, right? That actually gave me responsibility, and that's when I made that conscious decision that I want to increase that percentage, I want to increase that
Right.
number.
Right.
So
Right.
Since then, that has become my guiding principle that always stood with me throughout my career, and that came into the finance and tech industry that I am today. So one
Right.
thing I have learned to do it when I got my initial jobs or opportunities as a database developer or data engineer, right? Even though I have a strong technical background, I wanted to learn the business so quickly because everyone does tech. What is my differentiator, right?
Right.
I got business so quickly so that I could gain the trust from business. Hey, Priya is not only a tech leader, but she knows the business and she is learning
Right.
business constantly, and she can adapt to business change, right? Because business evolves so quickly when you're working in startups. You got to wear multiple different hats to get the job done. So that became my differentiator. So I tell women who are early in their careers, be curious, take on that additional project or a project that really challenges you, that really scares you, right? That's when
Right.
growth happens. Take that and stretch yourself, and you learn, you fail, you get up and learn from those mistakes. And I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure the organizations today have that culture where they provide that safety net. You fall down and get up, learn, and move forward. So
Yeah.
yeah, one advice is never be afraid to take that pivot or try a new challenge, but be self-sufficient and trust yourself.
Right. I think Priya, it's been very clear that the next wave of this industry will be shaped by new voices for sure, right? People bringing fresh ideas, more collaboration, a stronger focus. You might relate to this. Like if you go and ask your kids, like, what do you want to do, right? They might say, like, I want to build products which will make life easier for people, right? They won't talk about I want to make $1 billion, right? That's not the mindset. That's a huge mindset shift that is happening. Like leading with curiosity, leading with empathy. So when you think about future, when you think about what is next, what gives you hope about what is the next generation is taking us? Where this next generation is taking us?
That's awesome. I think this is the best question of all. I mean, because it's not what we do today. It's not what we are, what how the tech is shaping the world today, but how it's going to shape in the future. And that is with us, right? And with
Yes.
us, you mean how we are impacting the next generation of leaders. But what excites me most is that women aren't just entering finance and tech anymore. They're actually redefining it. They're launching startups. They're doing research. They're building
Right.
AI products that can shape the leadership, and that actually creates fair opportunities for customers. And through my Ready to Grow podcast, I get to meet so many of that women, and each one brings their unique story, their unique struggle, their own spark, and her own way of
Good.
leading. Right, that gives
Hmm.
me hope. And if several of the women have done it,
Yeah.
been successful,
Yeah.
the future generations, they just have to look back and see, and that itself gives them confidence that they can do it. It reminds me that the future isn't female, right? It's about being inclusive, and that's far more powerful. We are not and I say this, we are not waiting to grab that chair, grab that seat at the table anymore. We are actually building our own, and that really excites me. And especially the next generation, including the Gen Z, my daughter, when I see them, they come with that speed, they come with that creativity, which
Right.
challenges me even today. And these women aren't asking for permission to lead, they are shaping
Yes.
the future on their own terms. That gives me the hope, not just for women in tech, not just for women in finance, any industry, but for the kind of world we are all creating together.
Yeah. Again, thank you so much for being part of the show, Priya. It's inspiring. I'm going to listen to this again and again. I'm sure, like the people who are looking or entering into the career will benefit from this. And thank you for all you do. Right. Thank you for you doing the mentorship, being an investor, like shaping this community, and get some sleep as well, Priya. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We all need that, right? Thank you so much for
Yes.
having me, Anand. It was such a meaningful conversation. I really enjoyed sharing as well as learning along the way because your questions were very, very interesting, and it was sparking and making me go back to 30 years or 15 years back and bring back those memories and share with my audience. I'm happy to
Yeah.
be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.